Hello and welcome! Stratmania recently had an amazing Midway game, where he managed to get the damage record in the game. And I don't mean that what he got was the damage record in just the Midway on his server, I mean that as far as we can tell, there is no other random battle where somebody has got a higher damage output than he did in this game. Although, to be fair, he only got the record by like 500 damage, and this is that damage record game. He is obviously in the tier 10 US aircraft carrier, the Midway, and it's a match on Land of Fire. Because this is a replay, unfortunately I can't show you what exactly he is doing, because when you have a replay, well, the camera kinda gets screwed up and it doesn't quite follow accurately. You'll see it later, I'll point it out when it happens. So, this is my first viewing of this match, so I'm going in completely blind. I haven't watched it or anything, and I find it interesting that he uses the tactical map view for the early part. Maybe he plays it like that normally, but I don't know. So, for some reason the enemy carrier wasn't paying enough attention and he gets through the middle. Oh, by the way, one thing I didn't mention. By the way, you can see the camera lags behind. That is because this is a replay. So I'll just move the camera myself and just mark all the ships so that you can see the markers. It's gonna drop on this Yamato. It's gonna be a good drop because the enemy carrier for some reason didn't intercept. And yeah, this was a really good drop. By the way, he is using HE dive bombers, not AP dive bombers, which means that he can do a follow-up drop on this Yamato to set her on fire for some massive fire damage. Okay, he dodges a nice fighter strafe here, and is bringing in his own dive bombers, and is probably gonna bring his fighters here, as you can see. But the enemy... Oh, wow, this was a clever strafe. This was a really good strafe. I really didn't expect that one. That was really good. Wow. But yeah, as you saw, replays make the camera weird, so I'll just have to follow myself. Oh, and what's interesting about this game is that it's a battleship fest. Both teams have 10 battleships. Sorry, no, his team has 9 battleships, and the Minotaur and the Mogami, the enemy team, has 10 battleships and a Zao. And, you know, 2 Midways, of course. It seems that Stratmania took the lead in air combat, or enemy fight against the enemy fighters, and is now gonna go do a follow-up with the dive bombers. I do wish Wargaming kind of fixed the replay system, but I'm kind of unsure about that. HE dive bomber hit, and wow, 25,000 damage. I'm actually surprised that all 8 dive bombers hit. Didn't really expect that, or sorry, not all, that 8 dive bombers hit. And now it's time to defend against these. Yeah, he's not gonna make it in time. This is an ambitious strafe and it's not gonna catch up, but once the torpedo bombers turn around, well, he did clip them for a bit. However, you know, he gets to follow the torpedo bombers and the enemy, or friendly Roma, is gone. I mean, it's 4 minutes into the game and he already is at 100,000 damage done, and it's all to that one Yamato. So, yeah. I guess you can see where the damage record is coming from, right? By the way, this damage record is on all servers based on vovs-numbers.com. It's a site that tracks these kinds of stats. The number 2 after this is another Asia Midway, I think. That was at like 400 and... Sorry, that was at 500 damage less. Or was it like somewhere around there? So, this is an ideal game, of course, for a carrier like this, because everything is a battleship, and as you can see, there are battleships that aren't good at defending against carriers like a Musashi and Yamatos and Monarch, Alabama, Roma, Key. Like, these aren't, and Terpets, these aren't ships that can deal much to basically a Midway. So, he is doing another strike. This time it seems that it's gonna be on the Roma. He's bringing a fighter first because he doesn't know what the enemy Midway fighters are doing, which I think is a good decision. It might be a riskier decision if it wasn't the Roma, because a Roma has kind of weak anti-air, and there is the fighter. So now it's all about trying to dodge this initial strafe, which he tried to do. However, the carrier kind of saw it and, you know, he still caught the strafe. So, unluckily for Stratmania, he only got 2 torpedoes off on the Roma, but he might get flooding, so dive bomber follow-up? Maybe? No. No flooding, so this means that HE dive bomber follow-up is not going to be super effective. And this fighter's... he should lose the fighter battle, but maybe not. It's RNG. And if you haven't watched the video by iChase, you'll see how ridiculously RNG it is. I think you should just search on YouTube for fighter RNG or something like that, and you'll find it. It's quite disgusting. Basically, 2 fighter squadrons, both are exactly the same in stats, both go in, one side ends up, and you know, they click each other to attack, and one side ends up with 4 planes left over for some magical reason. And the worst part about that is that the 4 planes left over, you know, this still applies to strafing as well. He's gonna drop on the northern Yamato. That still applies to the strafe too. It's just that strafing deals so much more damage that you're less likely. So, he's trying to catch the enemy fighters out, but he's gonna get destroyed in return, so that's not really gonna work. And the drop is on the Yamato to do a fire follow-up. And I think... no, never mind. And it seems the Yamato is not repairing it, so that's gonna be good. And there goes his fighters. Or 1 fighter squadron. Down for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Torpedo bombers are now kinda up in the air without any defense. And the enemy fighters are coming. However, they will get somewhere near the Midway. If I were to criticize something, I don't like the way his ship is positioned. Yes, it's good in that he's not showing broadside. However, he isn't like on any specific side. Like he could sit like somewhere around here, and he would be slightly closer to some of the ships, like those Yamatos down there, and that would help. But you know, that's just a small thing, right? As long as he doesn't die, it's kinda okay, because he's only gonna lose like a couple of seconds. Maybe a dozen seconds or so. Overall, ships-wise, it seems that Stratmania's team is doing quite poorly. They've already lost 3 ships, while the enemy team has only lost 1 Tirpitz. Roma, Missouri, and Mogami gone. Although, you have to... you know, the enemy carrier did strike out one of the battleships, so... I think at this point, the enemy carrier... strike-wise is slightly ahead. If this were a domination battle, I think that the enemy team might have a good chance of winning it. However, it's a standard battle, which means that the points aren't nearly as important, because you can't just get like massive amounts of points. So next drop on this Yamato. By the way, something I noticed that's interesting to me is it's nice to look at how other good carrier players drop their torpedoes, because you know, when I drop, I sometimes mess it up and you know, they miss and all that stuff. It's good to know like whether they do the same kinds of mistakes or if there is some kind of a better way to do it, because you know, if you never actually watch what others do, you are basically left to figure all the things out on your own, which isn't ideal. Intercept on those fighters was a pretty good one. Oh wow, that was an interesting dive bomber drop. That's something I should try to learn. Also, if you notice the pause I had earlier, it was because I was hesitating whether to make the implication that I'm decent too at carriers. But I suppose it's normal, and I should do that. Okay, so... oh god, I accidentally pressed the wrong button. Yep. That is what the replay UI looks like. Drop on the Yamato, got 1 fire, 2 bomb hits, that's good. And I guess he's trying to defend that friendly Yamato, although I think that he should have paid slightly more attention to the minimap, because there was a torpedo bomber heading towards the Yamato, and instead he ran into the anti-aero 2 ships for a dive bomber squadron. Oh, and now he is actually near this island. but I guess there is only a key left, so that side is kind of safe, and it isn't necessary to start moving since the enemy battleships might be pushing a little bit. And there is the torpedo bomber I was talking about earlier that was visible on the minimap. However, he is a bit late on that. So he decides to go for the dive bomber squadron yet again. And I'm not sure what this is about. But yeah, this Yamato seems screwed. Could have done better on that front, but you know, these kinds of problems happen. You can't pay attention everywhere. It's really easy to commentate and notice these kinds of things, you know, when you're not actually playing. When you're actually playing, it's a lot harder to notice all the little things. I mean, even if you notice, you might be like, oh, I noticed that too late, or you might be unsure of some things that will happen. That was a strafe on the torpedo bombers at, you know, to catch up. I think he's gonna do another one here on this one. And I think the torpedo bombers, he plans on trying to go for the key. Okay, so he follows them. The enemy torpedo bombers. The enemy carrier wants to fly, you know, do kinds of maneuvers to try to avoid it. And dive bombers will probably try to drop somewhere on the Missouri. I'm surprised the enemy carrier didn't actually fall. Oh, I guess it's a Minotaur, so that is kind of a safety island, right? I think his positioning is a bit bad. I think he's slightly too far forwards. This Yamato, somewhere around here, might want to take a shot if she is in position, but it seems that the position either isn't good enough or he decided not to shoot for some reason. So, if you can tell, the enemy carrier seems to be competent too. Like, he's actually trying to intercept the fights, etc. Drops, etc., but it's just not working out quite as well. Plus, you know, he appears to be worse at the fighter play because he is clearly far behind in it, since Stratmania already has 49 plane kills. Fires are still ticking on the Misery, and torpedo bombers are going for the key, which probably is dead unless Stratmania somehow screws up the drop, because you really can't shoot down these torpedo bombers, and he can't really outmaneuver them either. So there's a fighter battle gonna go on in the middle, but I think he just clicked because he wants to pay attention to this key drop. No? Oh wow, that's an interesting drop. The key should try to stand still, but I guess he doesn't exactly know that, and he realizes too late, and now it's goodbye key. And fighter battle in the middle, still going on. Oh wow, he's actually winning. Yeah, he's definitely winning. The enemy fighter's straight, but he strafes from the side, so now he gets a sizable advantage, and he wins this round as well. I think the enemy carrier in this case screwed up quite a bit, but then again, I suppose what the enemy carrier is trying to do is she's trying to deal as much damage as possible to try to, and you know, tie up his fighters instead of going for the long game, whereas Stratmania is more going for the long game. Okay, so it seems all the enemies are on one side, and the enemies are actually ahead. Stratmania's team has lost 6 ships, the enemy team only 4, despite the fact that Stratmania has 270,000 damage. Somehow his team has still managed to screw up quite a lot. So, dive bombers, probably one of them is gonna drop on the Roma, then the other one waits until, you know, Damekon is used and then finishes the Roma off. Wow, these HE dive bombers are really doing a lot of damage, but the drop circles are so huge that I'm not sure whether these are better to use. I kinda like the AP dive bombers. I like how they feel. You need to drop properly to deal the damage. Okay, so I think this is gone for the Roma, unless she gets lucky without the fire. Nope, she doesn't, so goodbye Roma. And now it's a torpedo bomber follow-up, probably either on the Musashi or maybe the Alabama even. At least that's what I would drop. I think those dive bombers there are just used for scouting or something, to maybe pull aggro. Not sure. Wow. Stratmania's team has 5 ships left. The enemy has what? 7. 7 ships left. Oh, the torpedo bombers are going for the Yamato instead. I guess the blob is kinda huge here, even though it's a Musashi. I guess the Missouri is kinda strong with the anti-air output. And his fighters are trying to push off those enemy torpedo bombers. Oh wow! I didn't think he would pull back from just one floatplane. Huh. He's waiting for a friendly fighter. He's not dropping on this Yamato because he's waiting for the floatplane to be gone. That's interesting. I almost never do that. I just go through the floatplane. Because quite often you get lucky with the rare gunners, and even if you don't, you still get like half your drop off, right? But I suppose he is really massively ahead in terms of, wow, on both sides? Why? I mean, it worked out, but I just don't understand why he complicated the thing so much. It worked out well though, so I guess it doesn't matter. But yeah, it seems that the enemy carrier is kinda out of fighters, because we haven't seen any for a long time. In this case, it is quite okay to use the fighters for trying to shoot down the floatplanes, because there's just no reason not to. And the dive bombers seem to be going for the Missouri. There's only 3 minutes left, unfortunately, so I'm kind of unsure how well this will go for Stratmania's team. What? 18,000 damage with this? Wow. Still, I'm not sure how good of an idea it is to drop HE drop a US battleship, because if she uses Demicon, that lasts for 20 seconds, but it doesn't seem to be, so perhaps it's fine. She's still burning. And this island here has been really effective. And all the ships are pushing. I don't know, actually, if the game wouldn't... Okay, so the Missouri has finally used her Demicon. If this game wouldn't end in 2 minutes, this might be a really dangerous position. Because the battleships eventually will come around the corner. I suppose you could, like, try ramming one of the enemy battleships. It's entirely possible because you're quite fast, but your maneuverability is meh. Goodbye, Missouri. But they are inside the cap zone. So Stratmania's team needs to kill 3 of them? Yeah, 3 of them without losing any ships. And I mean they have a Minotaur and a very damaged Amagi. So this is gonna be hard work. I guess the next target is the Monarch. I'm surprised that Stratmania hasn't tried to use flooding in this game. He has done damage over time attacks with fire, but not flooding. Flooding is far more effective, of course. Oh wow, the enemy Midway is here, actually coming with the team. I suppose they don't have much threats there, right? Attack on the Musashi, and I'm guessing the HE dive bombers are gonna try to finish the Monarch off. No flooding on the Musashi, which is unfortunate. The Yamato does take the Minotaur torpedoes, which is good, and 400 HP, really? The Monarch should not... No, it's only 1 fire, so no, that's not gonna happen. And wow, that last salvo by the Yamato did finish the Minotaur off. Really unfortunate for the Minotaur. I think that this is a loss then. It's trying to strafe the planes inside Midway's anti-air. But yeah, it does seem like it's a loss. Like, this Monarch probably isn't gonna die to that fire. And he needs slightly more, because he needs to kill the Musashi and either the Midway or the Alabama. And it seems he's dropping both at the same time. I suppose there's only 15 seconds left, so might as well, right? Yeah, this looks like a loss. Even though, look at this damage output. Jesus Christ. 480,000 damage. Oh, and the Monarch didn't actually die. Wow. But it is the damage record in the game, so, you know, you can't really say that Stratmania didn't try hard in this game. As you can see, 484,580 damage. And earlier I wanted to mention that the number 2 is like at like 484,000 damage. So, you know, 500 damage lead more or less. 45 torpedo hits, 43 HE dive bomber hits, 71 planes shot down, 4 ships destroyed, so not even a Kraken, wow. 19 fires and 12 floodings, even defended the base a few times. A Wither, Confederate, 2 devastating strikes, and a high caliber. 1.6 million credits too. But it was still a defeat. Well, Stratmania, I only have one piece of advice. Carry harder. Clearly, you should have just done better and you would have won this game, right? Okay. Team score, he got 2,299 base experience in this game. And his team lost the game, despite the fact that the enemy Midway was still 2,127 base XP, yes. And on a victory, which means that the enemy Midway was no potato. That guy knew what he was doing. It's just that Stratmania was either better or he just had better luck. Probably better. However, Stratmania's team let him down quite a bit, considering nobody on his team even got 1,000 XP. But think about this. 2,299 base XP on a loss. This would have been a 3,400 base XP game if he had won this match. 3,400. I haven't seen these kinds of high numbers in quite a while. They don't seem to happen that much. Breaking 3,000 is quite rare. And here's the detailed report for the damage. That's incredible. Because I really thought that more of the damage would have come from damage over time. It's about 14,000 damage from fires, 1,000 damage only from floodings, and almost all of the damage came from straight up damage output. 107,000 damage with HE dive bombers. I really need to try this again, because that seems to be quite strong. And 262,000 damage from torpedo alpha strikes. That's insane. Of course it was like the perfect match for a carrier like this. However, still, 262,000 damage? Incredible. Just incredible. I'm glad I got to see this game, and I'm glad that Stratmania was okay with me showing this replay to you guys. Yeah, thank you very much for the permission, and thank you for the amazing game, because I really enjoyed watching it, and it was nice to see another good carrier player play well. And, well, now I would like to thank the patrons and Patreon. Thank you very much for your continued support, Duncan, and I hope I'll see you guys next time.